You came and opened heaven's door.
Not at all. See, Miracle Worker is probably one of my favorite songs that I've written, but it's not my best. It's not even my most melodious. It's not the one with the best choruses or bridges, but it's one that means a lot to me personally. It's no secret that I'm a medical student, and med school has been one of the biggest, most challenging experiences of my life. I'm not the most science-oriented person. I'm more of an arts student, or I guess a social science student, I would say. So coming to med school was very challenging for me. It's been difficult. And one night, I remember specifically, I was studying for biochemistry. Now I read for about 3 hours, went through the notes and slides, and then I went to answer some questions. And I was just so frustrated because it was like almost as if I hadn't learned anything. I just pushed my books aside, and I was just kind of angry, talking to myself, talking to God. I'm like, why am I here? Like, what's really going on? Like this, I came here believing that you were leading me here, and like this just doesn't make any sense. Why is this so difficult? It was in that moment, then it was kind of like God took me back to a place where He had like come through for me, where He had made the impossible possible for me. And that was back when I was doing my master's in public health. And I had done pretty well in my master's. At some point I had some challenges, and I was supposed to retake 2 classes. And those 2 classes, I retook them, did excellent, did very well in those courses. And it was now a matter of having my grades or results from the classes, registered so that I could graduate. And that became like the biggest challenge and the most challenging thing ever. I would go to their office for almost, this was more than a year actually, going back and forth with them. When are my grades going to show? When are they going to reflect? No solution. The woman would tell me, come back, that it's in the administrative building, that this person hasn't seen it, or this person saw it but there was an issue, so we have to be sent back to start all over again. This continued for about a year. It caused me to even graduate later than I was supposed to. But the story of my graduation is really what I want to share. I was at a Bible study one day. One of my friends called me, and he said that his car had been towed. He wanted me to come and carry him. I told him I couldn't. I told him, one of our other friends is available, call him. So after I left that Bible study, there was this urge. Something was telling me, give him money, give him some money, like a specific amount of money. And I said, no, right now I'm not financially buoyant. I'm not at the place where I can spare this amount of money. But that same push kept on, come and give him the money. Nope. I went home, slept. I woke up the next morning, and still that voice telling me, give him. I refused to do it, but at some point the voice was too loud. So I just quickly went to my bank, to the ATM, withdrew the money, drove to his house, gave it to him, and walked away. I just threw it at him. And on my way to my internship, at that place, at that a specific light, I can't forget that place even if I try. At a specific light, the voice came and was telling me that your giving has made a way for you. Anything you ask me now, I will do it for you. And I was like, what is this for real? Am I imagining this? And you know what? No, it was very real. God in that moment was speaking to me. And I should have asked maybe to become a millionaire or something, but nah, I was like, God, I want to graduate. I need to leave this time. Make a way for me. And I went to the school. I went to see the woman. And I asked her about my grades. Even before I asked her, she told me, no sir, your grades haven't come in. They haven't done, they haven't sent it in to me like they should. When they do, I will call you. But something told me, check on the computers. I went on the computer, and wow, one of my grades was already put in there. Now she's the only person that can actually input your grades, and she's telling me that she hasn't done anything. So I'm like, wow, God is at work here. I said, God, one more grade, come on, we're almost there, just one more. So I was hoping, I was so hopeful. I told God, please just make a way for me. Let me see something, and no, up until the last day, the absolute last day, when grades had to be submitted in order for you to be eligible for graduation. So at that point, around 3 o'clock, keep in mind the office closes around 4:30. 3 o'clock, I called, and I was told that the woman had traveled, that she wasn't around, she was on holiday. So my mind, my heart, I was just confused. I didn't even know what to do. It seemed like God had just brought me halfway, and He wouldn't complete the miracle. Then the guy who was on the phone, who told me she wasn't available, told me, but is there something I can do to help you? I told him exactly what I was going through, and I told him my situation. After everything, he said, you know what? I can just change your grades for you, no problem. So just like that, the guy went into the computer, put my new grades in. I was eligible to graduate. I received the email. So, you know, in the last minute, the absolute last day, God came through for me miraculously. And when thinking about that, when, you know, reminiscing on that night when I was worried about biochem, you know, I was just like emotions just welled up. I was just broken. I was in tears. It was tears of joy, tears remembering that God is with me. And that's where the song started coming. I just started singing. I was like on the floor like, Lord, you are the way maker. You know, and it just came. Obviously not as good or as polished as it is now, but you know, that was how the song came. And you know, eventually I completed it, you know, and it's what you guys are listening to today. But I cherish the song so much. It reminds me constantly that God is for us, that He's with us, and that even at the last minute He can come through for us. And lastly, it just reminds me that the importance of sharing our testimony of what God has done for us, because it's the testimony of what God did for me that it encouraged me and kept me pushing on. And for a lot of us, our testimonies of God's goodness is really the word of God being spoken into somebody's situation. So yeah, that's the story behind it.